that was done in collaboration between Ain Shams University and the Department of Urban Design and what we call CNRS, National Center for Scientific Research in France. And the one with the PI of this project is a sociologist. She's called Emmanuelle Schmiesa. And we have worked on a topic. It was, I believe that was very interesting, the transformation of the city spaces according to, or the impact of COVID on the city. Well, our main topic was the food, is called foodscape. How do people eat, buy their food within the city, and how it was transformed while this period of sanitary crisis, okay? Well, actually we had been working in different cities, Montpellier in France, Cairo in Egypt, and my colleague in his Rabat, Medina Rabat, in Morocco. Okay, and we have with the objective, our objective, you know, actually I'm a soundscaper, not a landscaper, but a soundscaper. So I'm much more interested in sounds and how does the city change with the change in the social practices, with the urban transformation, the urban intervention, and how does it affect the comfort, the sensation of comfort. So it's somehow subjective. We are studying the perception of people. And in this period of time, the city has changed a lot in its soundscape, because we found silent cities, dead zones, people, the social animation of the space was somehow hidden or disappeared. And then we have what you have called the sound of ecology, the birds, animals that we can find within the city. So we have worked in the main methodology of our research, it's a French methodology with a colleague of mine. I was studying in Grenoble School of Architecture, and it's about an notion called ambience. Ambiance, in French, it is the sensory experience of the space, so we are more studying sounds, olfactory aspects, the body in the space, how do we move, and how do we encounter the other in public spaces. We are studying the social practice, the social interaction, the spatial configuration, and the sensory phenomena within the space. No. Transit. A transit is a sort of a walk within the city in a pathway, and within this pathway we are talking with the inhabitants, and we are making a different questionnaire or small interviews within the inhabitants to understand the memory of the COVID period and to capture what type of elements, urban elements, that could constitute their memory.
Very inspiring.
Okay. I'm sorry, it is in French, but I will just translate it into English and in Arabic. talking, James, you were talking about this idea of densification of the city, it was the campus, and the diffused urban fabric. This tension between the two approaches, the two urban approaches, goes with the idea of cover because we have to keep the distance with the other. This also talks about the definition of public space as a fundamental space where a social link and living together is created. This, you know, I think in France, and I don't know in America what happened, but they have defined a 1 kilometer diameter for for the inhabitants to walk in. Beyond this 1 kilometer, you don't have the right to go.
It's during the COVID, right?
Yes, during the COVID. So this created sort of a community. So we're making all what we need to buy within the community, within the bubble.
It's a bubble system. They call it the bubble.
Yes, exactly. This created an effect of a bubble. Exactly. So we are returning back to what is called proximity. The city as a small communities living together. So in this context, what is the ability to meet the other, the encounter, the link, and the social link, okay? In urban ambiences, this is a slowing down of the rhythm of the city. And this is a fundamental change in the ambiences because of the flora and the fauna. As I told you about the sound of birds was very dominating, but also the planting. Here is an intervention of inhabitants that they are planting in front of what we call threshold between the private space and the public one, okay? So this is an intensification of greenery. This is why we have what we call slowing down in this sonic and spatial saturation. And in this period, different spaces are taking place in the practice and the memory of people. What we call void, the interstices, the in-between spaces, the time of break, to relax, to stop, or to keep silent. This time for us is a time to make this experimentation, to understand the different temporality and the different ways to occupy the space. And how our main question was how the inhabitants use these interstices or in-between spaces, and how do they reappropriate the public spaces for eating. This is a major transformation because when we are talking about the city, post-industrial city, it is about cars and the vehicles, and they are dominating the space. But at that time, we have very little passage of cars. The first thing during the COVID is putting the body at a distance. So we have many marks in public spaces to keep the distance between bodies. And this has changed completely the social interaction within spaces. How can we talk to each other? How can we listen? And how can we live together? What we call in French, vivre ensemble, living together. How this collective aspect takes place within the space. So we're studying how do people walk for spaces to buy food, and how they are staying in the space for eating. So we use different methodologies, but our main objective is how the modification of the lived space can affect l'espace conçu, the design
The
space.
conceived space. The conceived actually.
Yes.
The conceived space.
The conceived space. The main objective is the hospitality of the city. How can the city keep its possibility to host inhabitants or to host space users within this period of crisis? So we have used different situations. We're studying urban situations, specific urban situations and specific urban spaces where there is a social transformation in using these spaces. As I said, it was Cairo, Rabat, Montpellier, and we made small reference to Paris and Grenoble. This is the type of method we were walking, commented walk. We are walking with the inhabitants. He's commenting what he is living in or remember in his lived experience during the COVID, for just capturing their memories and their perception of the ambience of the site. Here, for example, a space in Montpellier, it's in front of a cathedral. As we see it, it is empty. We see only 2 persons are sitting and talking. So one of the methods that we have used is just taking photos during the COVID and then watch it to the persons here in the space. We're just letting them talk about their memories during this COVID, during the period of COVID. Here we can see before and after COVID. Here we don't have the terraces of cafes in the space and how people can sit in the public space and what type of elements that they are using for staying in public spaces. If we don't have these terraces, what can we do? This is very interesting because this is a space, it was quite empty before the COVID, and during the COVID it was completely used. I'll just let you listen, I hope that it will work. مش هبيشلك. Well, I just wanted to, maybe, I will ask a question. During the night, please remember, during the night, James, covered, what you used to hear?
The sound of silence.
Yes, that was in Egypt because I was part of it, I was here, but it was not.
No, it is in Egypt as well.
Yeah, it
was one of the quietest.
Vacant completely because we had a curfew and but I can imagine whereas this maybe if there is the phone and floor like they were restituting themselves. I think that you would hear like in the morning birds, in the evening like some animals. I don't know. Or
Nature was recovering.
Yeah, nature.
Yes, this is right. But beside that, because we are focusing on, in this space we were focusing on the food transportation. This is sound that were very dominant. James, you didn't tell me. During the night in San Francisco, what type of sound did you hear? You're living in the center?
One of the neighborhoods in the city proper. In the night.
Cars, like that.
8 p.m., 9 p.m.
Well, there was this howling thing that happened. People would howl at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, like together, like
together.
In Italy and France, like they were.
Yeah, just
go out to
their backyard and howl at 8 o'clock precisely.
Yes. In Italy, they used like to drink before dinner together at 7. And in France too. But actually, I think maybe I haven't to Strasbourg during the confinement. So usually what I used to hear mostly during night, because I stayed in the downtown, it was like cars delivering and cars,
Exactly. الموتوس is dominating the soundscape because people are staying at their home and then they are demanding
deliveries, food delivery.
Exactly. So this is a sound phenomenon dominating the city during the night in the convent. Okay, so
اشتغلت؟
here we are. Can we come with this? This is during the night. Okay. This is the different pathway that we have chosen for the study, and then we have met. It somehow it traverses parks, urban areas, autoroutes, etc. And then we were working. We are just putting this on a long map, a long table, and then we are putting the picture that we had along this pathway, and then we start talking to the inhabitants. And then after that, this is the methodology. Another one, we were just talking to the inhabitants, and then when we return back to the atelier, we are working together, we are drawing and designing, drawing the space and then collecting the pictures. This is the results, different transects, okay? And this is the one I was working. It's called it's a transit in the district. It's called La Payade. It's for it's what we call populaire. It's حي شعبي. وحي شعبي. It is co-inhabited by different nationalities, mainly coming from North Africa, Algerian, Moroccan, and Tunisian people. So I'll just focus on some situations, urban situations, or social phenomena, for example, the distance, marking the ground for keeping this distance between the bodies is transforms completely. The body is in his individual status, not in the collective representation of the body. And then here in Ramadan, for example, we call it's a sort of charity for food that people are eating together within the street. And this phenomena during the COVID has stopped because we cannot anymore eat together because of the sanitary conditions. So they were preparing boxes and then giving it to the passerby to eat, each one in his corner. This is what we have discovered, that is for mobilier urbain, so the street furniture, we had in certain places a lack of street furniture. So how do people overcome this problem? They are using stairs. It's just sufficient, a small element in the urban space with a tree, so people can sit within the space. This is, I like this photo because it shows how people reappropriate the space and how can they put marks. You see how they put what they feel, what they perceive as an ecosystem, and they are putting it on the wall at the ground floor. Here, there's an intensive investment of greenery by the inhabitants themselves, so they are planting together. And here is a cafe, it is open, but the inhabitants are meeting in front of this space and they are talking together. So the public space has been reduced and we have a sort of cutout between the district and the city center. This is an enclosing spaces. So a strong social links and solidarity between inhabitants. But where does it take place? It one of the typology, what we call jardin partagé, اللي هو shared gardens, and it is a garden. It is a garden. It is
Community garden.
yeah, it's like community garden, exactly. It's like community garden planted by the inhabitants, and they are meeting there while planting the food. So what we call ressources, c'est resources for social link. Okay. I'll just go faster. Here, the edges of the fountain became a very important space or element for staying together. Benches are retaking their place within the public space because before it was empty. Hena, this space it's a new element, a new urban element called the tree of books. So people can go and pick up a book and then read and return it back. Here is the benches, and it is used for different things, for just getting sun, for talking, for working, for just watching. And they are inhabitants of the same district, so they used to get down together and talk all the morning. Each morning they talk together so the social links of a neighborhood has been re-established. You can see how people are sitting on the ground, on the benches, and they are using the shadows and the ground. And after reopening the terraces, the benches were empty. These spaces became again empty spaces. This, as you said, Yehya, this was a place that la mairie,
the city
department,
the city, yeah.
Yes, was
the municipality.
The municipality.
The municipality was planning to make it pedestrian. So the inhabitants resisted. They didn't want to make it pedestrian because they wanted these subspaces continue to live. So as we see, people are staying on the corner. On the corner of the street, they are talking together, or they are staying in the middle of the space at the edges of this cafe. Here, this is the space in front of the Église, cathedral, and this is during the COVID. It was a place where people can meet and talk together for several hours, and we can find many body posture within the space. So for us, it is a sort of public intimacy where people can go out with their what they are doing at home, and then they are getting out for just half an hour, 15 minutes, and then they are returning back just to enjoy this sociability. Here in Cairo, and I found it really intelligent. You know, it's Abbas al street, and we have two banks, one in front of the other bank, مش عارفة الناحية الثانية bank A, and then users they had to go one by one. So the waiting area was outside, and they put this
Shades.
The
shades for people to stay. And then this person, it is a cafe car. This one is a cafe car, and he's offering. It became a terrace, a cafe terrace. They are staying there, and they can take their coffee. And he is offering these services for both of them. And it is a phenomenon that took a lot of importance during the COVID. Okay, this, for example, it's a garage for a house, and it used to open the garage and then put the chairs outside her house for just talking together with her neighbors. This one is offering coffee to the passerby. the balcony. The balcony played a major role in social communication during COVID, both for people and also for ecosystem. This interaction between, we see this person, he is interacting with the bird. What was very interesting, you know, this Haussmann style, we have this balcony that's quite exposed. So people can, what we call chat corner, people can go out and then talk together from the balcony and then return back. So it has changed completely the soundscape of the street.
In Italy, they sing together from balconies.
Yes.
It was beautiful.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And this is at the end of street. This is another garden. It's another garden in Payat. It was a space where people can eat together, can talk together, and before it was just a space where we can plant, making the agriculture practice and then return back home. But during the COVID, it was a real public space for meeting. And it's quite particular because it's fenced. So, we have greenery all around. So visually we are completely isolated, but phonically we can hear what is going all around. We can hear people are talking from the terraces, and we can identify where they are talking. So we are very exposed to the other with sounds, but visually we are completely isolated. Here in Rabat, طبعا دي phenomena, it was also in Egypt, the informal practice within public spaces, the informal commerce within the city.
It's still going on.
And it's still going on.
You don't disappear. Downtown Cairo is full of بس العقائد.
Well, actually, after presenting our book, because informal markets also in Egypt, it was very, very present, and in Montpellier, they have the same phenomena, and the municipality didn't know what to do with it. But they found it very interesting that what is the place that the city gives for this informal practice? Because it's a sort of also, I'm not talking about, it's sort of freedom that we can use the public space without a lot of restrictions, and we can invest and we can buy and sell. This is one of.
But this is a space, not a street.
Yes, a space.
So
it's different. Yes, yes. It's not like
like ours.
Yes, exactly. I do agree.
Ours are streets.
Yeah.
Pavements, mainly.
Yeah.
The right to walk is not there anymore.
But in some areas, it is a privilege, especially in informal areas, where streets are used as markets.
Yes, market, yes, of course, market street is there.
Okay.
It's part of
So
culture.
the main question that raised, what is the place that the city and the city and urban regulations give to the inhabitants to just express themselves in an informal? But because informality, it has another side, this freedom, this acceptability of the city to host the other. I will just stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.